right, well, let's just jump into it here. We're excited to get the YouTube portion of our podcast up and going, and excited to have one of our first few guests on here via Zoom, Matthew Geist, otherwise known on YouTube as Sixringsofsteel. Matthew, appreciate you coming on the show, man. We know you got a lot going on and obviously crazy times. So appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. Excited for this. Excited to talk. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest thing that stands out is obviously what you're doing within the NBA 2K career. You know, we definitely want to jump into 2K and everything going on between 2K21 and the next gen. But the biggest thing is that you kind of get to do this YouTube thing full time. So how did this all kind of begin? Where did you start when it came to making videos and being within 2K?
So I was 14 in like ninth grade, and I used to watch a lot of YouTube in like the end of middle school. And I used to watch, I don't know if anybody knows any of these guys of like Blink Fro or Prado Lumberjack. They used to do like a lot of franchise or Maddens back in like 2012 or Dread Silver Kid. And I was like, that's super cool. I felt like I never wanted to be like a sports commentator, but I was like, that's pretty cool. Play franchise all the time. It'd be cool if like actually people like followed along with it. So I got enough money saved up on Elgo. Had like a laptop at the time. I was making videos on there. And then, I just started making Madden 25 and NBA 2K14. It was right when the current gen consoles just came out in 2014 around February. And I really enjoyed it. It was like something I was doing passionately. I would get 30 views a video, I would say, throughout the first year, 30 to 40. I think I took home, I was with like Machinima at the time. I took home, I think like $60 in my first year after doing it for like hours a day. So that was like, but I did it for fun and I really enjoyed it. And then over time, like branched out a little bit to MLB, and then mainly in like 2015, I started doing rebuilds. And then those kind of took off a bit, and I was like, oh, okay, I can actually like do this like and make money off it, and maybe not have to work a job going through high school. And that's pretty much where I started. But I would say the big like turning point was when I started doing rebuilds. I don't know if you guys are familiar with CSB.
Where have I heard that from? I definitely have heard that somewhere. But
so he did like rebuilds. He did 2 of them back in like early stage of 2K15, but he didn't upload for a couple months after. I think he was like on a break or something. And I was like, you know what? That's a really good idea. He never really took off with it. I was like, let me start doing these, and I did them. And I would go from getting 800 views a video at the time, maybe 900, to start getting like 9,000, 10,000. And I was like, okay, these are doing well on YouTube. So I kept doing those. And then over time, I kind of just grew into it. I kind of made it a staple of my channel, and that's where I am today. And 266,000 subs later, basically because I started rebuilds back in 2K14. I don't think I would have been nearly as big if I didn't do them then.
That's awesome. That's dope. 2 things I took away from that. One, the MLB games used to be super dope. I don't know if the show was still the same like it used to, but that used to be my biggest thing. And 2, you were already making, this is pretty much your job already outside of high school. So while most people probably get some kind of like restaurant job or retail job, you're already making YouTube videos for money.
Yeah. I did. I worked as a cashier, stocking in a grocery store back in 10th grade. And then I was doing that on YouTube at the same time. And then I kind of like stopped doing that, did YouTube. I worked for some companies here and there. I worked for Fidelity Investments because I'm a finance major past summer. So I was doing that and YouTube, which was a lot, but it wasn't too bad because that job was remote due to COVID. But yeah, like I know a lot of people, like, especially my friends, would be like a lot of people were like, I don't even know why you're going to school. You should try to make this full time and try to make this something. And I don't know, like I wanted to be like that, but I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket. And I was like, I knew I was going to get my degree. And I think I'm going to get a finance job after college and attempt to do both. It's possible to do both. It's a lot, but it's definitely possible.
We can tell you're a finance major. You're always making the smart move, you know. Don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
That's awesome. I'll tell you what, growing up, I was a kid. I feel like our generation was really, raised on YouTube. And I know for me, the big guy for me growing up was Chris Smoove. I absolutely loved Chris Smoove. Of course. We used to just go out and be like, shot clock cheese, or like, give that guy a map. It was crazy. But honestly, for me, not to brown nose too much, but Six Rings of Steel is basically, you know, it's a daily tradition for me. You know, I'll sort of wind down and I'll, you know, go on my phone and I'll watch whatever rebuild or whatever video you had posted for that day. So I'm honestly, this is a huge deal for me that we were able to get you on the podcast. So I guess my question for you would be, you know, what was sort of that learning curve like for YouTube? You know, what did you have to improve upon from the beginning? What did you learn worked? What didn't? How did you continue to steadily improve to where you are now?
Okay. Yeah. And first, like, I appreciate you watching me. That's super cool. And second, I would say, like, when I started, like, I would talk very like quiet in the mic. I would like kind of clutter over my words a lot and I wouldn't edit that out. And then I wouldn't really even have a face cam. And I would say just over time, like being more comfortable on camera is pretty huge. And then I just enjoyed it because I have like a bunch of friends that try to do YouTube because they saw what I did and they're like, oh, like that's super cool. And they try it and like great, like go for it. But once they get the 30 views a day, they're like, all right, how do you do this? So like, that's what I did. My first year, I averaged 30 views a video. I would say even maybe the first year and a half of uploading 6 times a week. And just because I enjoyed it, it helped that I was in 10th grade rather than kind of college where you have to devote a lot of time to schoolwork. So it's hard to kind of start up YouTube if you really don't have like somebody huge that could shout you out and already build you a following or stuff like that. So I would say definitely just being like dedicated to it and enjoying it was huge. I think when I was younger, I enjoyed it a lot more than I do now, just because I did it just for fun. Now, like it's kind of not like a job, but I feel like it's something I got to think about every day, which it is what it is though. Like I'm playing video games and making money. If that's going to be the burden on it, let it be. So I would just say, yeah, like being just determined in the beginning was huge and not quitting. Cause I was going to quit a couple of times just because like I was getting 30 views, 50 views a video. So I was like, you know what, like it was fun. I'm glad I tried it, but maybe it wasn't for me. And I'm really glad I didn't quit it.
And so now so you talk about going to school for finance. Obviously a whole lot of your stuff, as you said, was about rebuilding these teams and basically working as a general manager. Is that something that you want to do in real life at all? Work for an NBA front office, sort of rebuild teams?
Yeah. I mean, that was like middle of sophomore year to about the end of last school year. So I would say middle of 2018 to the end of 2019, start of 2020, I would say I wanted to do that. Mm-hmm. And I would go to these scouting conferences. I went out to like Vegas. I did one at the Barclays Center through a group called TPG Sports. And then I did like the sports business classroom. I was going to go like out to California again in the summer, but then I don't know, like basketball's amazing and like I love it and I would love to work in it. It's just very hard. And I realized that I love basketball as much as the next person and everybody does. And it's such a competitive industry to get into, but it's just really hard to get into it. And even if you have to, like, it's hard, especially if you don't go to like an Ivy League school, or you don't have connections. Right. It's a huge connection industry. That's how a lot of people get their jobs in it. So I was like, I know there was because I'll use an example. I think his name, is it Brock Allen? It was somebody that was just hired by the Knicks. He had no basketball background, I believe, but he worked for Bank of America as a financial consultant. So I was like, I enjoyed finance. I like the financial aspect of basketball, or just of sports, of baseball, football. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to do that for a living. And if there's an opportunity where you can transition from finance to MBA, I'll do that. But I'd rather not like put all my eggs into one basket, making $20K a year after I graduate, $30K a year, and never make it in the NBA, or maybe make it when I'm 38 years old. And it's like, I love basketball, but I don't know if I enjoy it that much, where I don't want to like capitalize on what I could be doing elsewhere. Right. And that's what I'm going to probably be doing in finance, or why I chose finance.
That makes complete sense.
Well, I do want to say, by no means am I trying to compare the two, but YouTube is also a pretty competitive industry. And while you say the NBA and the basketball industry would be hard to jump into, I mean, you're kind of already in that competitive industry where it's tough to get your foot in the door. So I think if there's anybody that could do it, someone that's already been able to take on that tough step and really insert themselves into kind of this big following and make this a career for themselves. So if anything, that's something you could always harp on. It's like, oh, I did it for YouTube. Maybe I can take that next step. But
Anthony wants that assistant GM position.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at here. Just make sure you remember me. Let's jump into 2K a little bit, because obviously there's a lot going on within 2K right now. NBA 2K21 just jumped out. initial thoughts just on the game.
What I expected when 2K14 came out on the 360 before Xbox One, or when it came out on PS3 before PS4 came out, it was kind of a carbon copy of the previous game. Minor changes, obviously. My team's a lot bigger now, so they were able to maybe make new cards. There's a new My Career story. It's honestly not that bad. I thought 2K was going to be a little bit less fun to play, 2K21, but it's not too bad. And I think for it basically being 2K20.5 as expected, it's not that bad for what we're going to get in November, because we're going to get pretty much a whole new game, because 2K14 was huge. It introduced My League, it introduced My GM, a whole new My Career story. I'm not sure how big my team was at the time, but that's basically kind of around the time where also Park became a thing, I believe, or Rec mode. So I think we're going to see some big changes in 2K21 on next gen. And we only have about a month and a couple of weeks, or about a month and a week until next gen comes out. So I think it'll be a newer game, hopefully. Do you guys play it at all? Do you guys notice, or are you guys happy with 2K21?
Yeah. So
yeah, go ahead, Anthony. You tell.
Well, I was going to say, I think we both play 2K. I mean, I was really one of those people who like really tried to dive into it heavy when the 2K League came out, especially. I was like, oh, I'm going to try to make the league and all this stuff. And just never really had the time to even put into just winning 50 games to get into the combine. Obviously, that's evolved greatly. But as far as 2K21, something I didn't know if I was going to get just because, next gen was coming out and seemed like it was kind of pointless because everything's going to reset anyways. But like you said, honestly, it hasn't been that bad. It's weird to think that this is really the first 2K that doesn't have like new rookies, or the transactions haven't happened. I mean, like you said, just a carbon copy of the game. But overall, it's been fun. What I've realized as I've gotten older is that I am getting worse and worse by each 2K.
I think that's me too.
And the shooting is extremely difficult in this game.
Oh my, it's so hard. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
Like if I go in, like if I do, let's say a My League, and then it's game 7 of the finals, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to play this fourth quarter. I can't make a shot. Like it's pointless.
Well, I was going to say too, the pie charts, I can't master that at all. I can't figure out, I want a certain player, but the pie charts are just not allowing me. So, hopefully when the next gen console comes out, we'll see what happens. But I think it's going to be a great game. I mean, obviously the graphics are really good. That was kind of recently released. What are your thoughts on just the new graphics and it being on, the next generation console here?
Yeah, I think they leaked them today, or they came out today. I don't know if you guys saw it. Yeah, they look really good.
Yeah.
Like they look like they could
that
be like
video
real
of
life.
Luka running down the tunnel.
That looks so real.
Good.
I mean, I already have.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, because you mentioned it, I forgot to mention My League, because like I feel like all the other modes are fine, but My League, like, a little disappointed. Like you said, no rookies, that kind of sucked. It starts on December 7th. There's no 2020 off season. I actually think they did a really bad job on My League. Actually, I think my team was fine. My career was fine. My GM is My League, I think, was actually pretty bad.
Well, I'm glad that you said that, because that's actually a question I wanted to ask you. So for me personally, I'm going to wait and get 2K21 until the next gen comes out, because I wait for guys like you and Kenny and Click to get 2K and sort of play it for a couple of weeks before I buy it. I never buy it on launch. And then when I saw that, because all I really play is My League, when I saw they were missing the rookies and sort of they didn't really have the bubble or anything, I was like, all right, I got to wait to get this. But from your perspective, I guess you kind of got to get creative around that, right? When really all of a ton of your content is just based around, bringing in these rookies. And, I hate to say it, but I feel like you're almost playing with like one hand tied behind your back when you do some of these rebuilds, because especially in the first beginning when they wouldn't allow community uploads. So you couldn't even get in like the rookies, and then 2020 free agency was all messed up and all this stuff. So how did you sort of get creative and work around that?
Yeah, definitely. It kind of sucked at first, because like you said, you weren't even allowed to download rookies. So I would have to do first couple rebuilds with auto-generated rookies. And I don't blame you. That was smart. Like I wouldn't want to buy the game either, because it's basically 2K20 in My League. It's the same thing. So you can actually download draft classes in 2K20. So you were able to just play that. Because I know Crispy, another My League YouTuber, he went just only on 2K20 when 2K21 was out for rebuilds. So it definitely does stink. I think one thing that helped was when 2K21 launched, there was a lot of NBA news. Like I know the Bucks were eliminated, so there was a whole Giannis, will he come back? The Rockets were out. We're like, okay, should they blow it up? So I was able to make some content off that. I building around James Harden, building around Giannis, not letting him walk, or trading James Harden, trying to blow that up, and stuff like that. I think that was pretty big. And I think, it kind of stinks with the bubble, as the draft, I believe, is until November 18th. So the draft content won't be out for at least another month and a half. That'll be on next gen. I think they said free agency might be in the beginning of December, or the absolute end of November, which is in about a month and 3 weeks from now. So that kind of stinks. But yeah, it's just kind of got to get creative until that point. I would say at least till next gen comes out.
So during a time like this, where it's obviously unprecedented and unlike anything we've expected, is this a time maybe where you try to find that balance between enjoying 2K and also creating content, or is that ship kind of just sailed and you're just like, I'm strictly just kind of a my league guy? Do you play a lot of my team, my career?
Yeah, so for the first time, I've been uploading my career, and I've actually had a lot of fun with it. And for the first time, I am uploading kind of my GM consistently. I did it back in 2K18, but kind of for the first time since then, I am enjoying it a lot. And it is fun, I would say, and it's nice to not have to play my league every single day. I know last year at this time, I was trying to make more NBA-related content where I was doing like top 10s or one breakout player from each team at like the start of last year's season. So I don't know if I'll go back to that, but I think like doing NBA style videos are also really fun. I know in the off season they'll be big because I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more Buddy Hield rumors and a lot of Chris Paul rumors. So.
One rumor I actually heard today was about I think it was Giannis and Harden teaming up. Just thought that things are getting crazy right now. It's just like insane speculation at this point. Well, no, that's not happening. I would cry if that happened. I hear a lot of like Harden to the Sixers too, which is,
Andy's a big Harden guy, so he's really tuned in on what's happening with Harden.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably one of the few out there. That'd be interesting. I think maybe with D'Antoni, I think Doc Rivers being fired from the Clippers and then now being, I guess it's Glenn Rivers now, joining the Sixers kind of hurt D'Antoni's chances, which in turn maybe hurt Harden's chances of coming there. But I guess it's possible. Who knows? So being a Big Three related podcast, not sure how much you've watched the Big Three or checked it out. But I will say that one thing that we've heard, I think over the first 3 years of its existence, is that people would love to potentially see a game. I think it would just be cool maybe as like an option you could play in 2K. Now I know they obviously have Blacktop where a lot of people like 3-on-3, but what would be your thoughts just in terms of a Big Three game, or do you think it'd be something better off as like an option that you could pick or play in on 2K?
I think a game would be really fun. Now I don't know like if an in-game option, like you said, would work, because I don't know if the NBA would want to be with the Blacktop, because I guess it's like their one competitor. So I don't think, that would happen. But I think a game would be fun. I don't know, obviously, like their financials, if that's something they could do, because they would have to make a good game that people would want to play. Because you looked at NBA Live, they were, I would say, a little bit bigger than 2K prior to 2010, and then 2K really made just better graphics, overall gameplay, and then NBA Live kind of fell off. So I would just say, if it's fun, like definitely, I think Blacktop's huge in 2K, especially like me and my friends, we play Blacktop all the time and we're like over someone's place. So I think that'd be really fun, a Big Three game. I don't know, like if it would have to be as big as 2K, like maybe if it's 1999, you play, I don't know, like do you think there would be a season mode in that? Obviously not a franchise mode because there's no draft, but a season mode maybe, or maybe free agency. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I guess you could kind of do all of that, just be a little bit shortened. And I think even like my career would be kind of shortened too, but maybe it needs a few more years of life before, even insert something like that, but it would be kind of cool.
So one question that I had for you too, which was, I was interested to hear your answer to this, is you've simulated the season in your lifetime, in your YouTube career, probably hundreds, thousands of times, right? Have you ever gotten a simulation where like whatever happened in that season, and we don't have to go by wins percentage or whatever, but champion, let's say, or even like finals matchup, like that happened in real life?
Funny you say that. I'm gonna try to find my Twitter, but like all of them, like I do so many, I don't really kind of like remember each one, but I know a little bit ago somebody like tweeted at me that I did a rebuild. I think it was my small ball Rockets rebuild back when they traded for Robert Covington and traded away Clint Capella. And it was like the exact same Western Conference order and like a very similar Eastern Conference standings, which I think was pretty cool. I'll try to find the photo as I talk about it. But either way, like I thought that was pretty cool. And I would say nothing crazy. Like maybe if I went back and watched my 2K17 rebuilds, I could see that Giannis was a 2-time MVP later on, or Luka became really good with like importing draft classes. But I wouldn't say anything like that I specifically remember that definitely happened now.
Any like sort of transactions? I feel like maybe that would be even just more likely you making a trade and a guy being traded to a team that ultimately ends up happening in real life there.
I feel like that's gotta be. I feel like I should know that definitely. I know like if
That's gotta
goes,
be.
That's gotta be a
if
video
Chris Paul-
coming out then.
If Chris Paul goes to the Thunder, I definitely made, or excuse me, Chris Paul goes to the Sixers. I definitely made Chris Paul to the Sixers videos back in like November. So maybe that's a little bit of a prediction, but I mean, if KD and Kyrie went to the Knicks, then maybe I would have had a lot happening at all. So, yeah, I really couldn't say much there.
All right, well, let's wrap.
Well, actually, I have a question. Let's talk Knicks because you're sort of
I was actually going on that same page.
Yeah, you have a ton of experience doing it. So let's go ahead. So your pitch for general manager, let's say, if they decide to make another front office change, how are you rebuilding this team?
Got the 8th pick right now. Pretty interesting group of guys there right now. I mean, yeah, what would be your pitch right there?
I think you don't trade for Chris Paul before we get in the draft. You don't trade for Chris Paul unless you're not giving up any major asset. If Kevin Knox is the biggest asset you give up, fine. Do not give up first-round picks for one of the worst contracts in the league still. It's still a bad contract. They want to trade them, or OKC wants to get off the contract. Don't give up anything. It's not the end of the world if they don't get Chris Paul. I would like a point guard in this offseason, somebody that you can actually build with RJ Barrett. And I don't know if Devin Vassell is that guy at 8 as a small forward out of Florida State. I am a big Cole Anthony guy compared to most, but it is risky taking Cole Anthony if you're the Knicks because they need to land on one of these picks. Their last draft picks before RJ was Frank and Knox. And as much as I like Frank, both of them have been failures so far. They really haven't proven that they're top 10 picks in the league, let alone NBA starters. So I wouldn't really make a trade. I would just rebuild like a normal team. Draft either Cole Anthony or Devin Vassell at 8. Both, at least one will be there at 8. Both probably will be there at 8. And I would just build around RJ, that pick, and Mitchell Robinson. They have, I believe, the 27th pick in the draft from the Clippers. They'll have the 38th pick, I believe, as well, which I think is via Charlotte. And you just have Tom Thibodeau develop these guys. You have, let's say they draft Cole Anthony. You have Cole Anthony, RJ Barrett. You're still going to play Kevin Knox. I don't know if they're going to bring back Reggie Bullock or Mo Harkless. They'll have Julius Randle unless they could trade him because I would like to trade him because he is going to steal reps from RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson and the first round pick and everyone else that deserves like actually shots over Julius Randle. Build around Mitchell Robinson, not start a 34-year-old Taj Gibson over Mitchell Robinson. But I think Tom Thibodeau is definitely the best coach we have had in a minute. So I think we're like just let next year play out. It's a loaded 2021 draft. Even they're probably not going to get lucky in next year's lottery again, but even if they end up with the 7th pick next year, the 6th pick in the lottery, something like that, there's loads of talent. There's Isaiah Todd, there's Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley. There'll be a guy for them at 6 that they'll need or wherever they're picking in the top 10 because they'll probably have a top 10 pick next year. I would just keep building through the draft. 2021 is a really good free agency. Maybe you could convince someone, but don't hate yourselves if you can't. Keep building through 2022. Even if you're bad again, add another draft pick, and then hopefully a core of Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett, your 2020 first-round pick, your 2021 first, and maybe your 2022 first can do something in 2023. I think that might be the time frame around 2023 is where they could be a respectable Eastern Conference team. When I mean respectable, I mean like winning a playoff series, not winning 38 games and making the 8 seed. But I think they should just develop their team through the draft. Don't make any crazy trades and just rebuild like a normal team. Just build through your draft, sign free agents that actually complement your players that you want to build around, like RJ Barrett. Get him shooters, get him defensive players that can help him out on that side of the ball. So I would say just build through the draft. Don't make any crazy moves just because you're New York, and just grind it out.
I think Knicks fans would agree with you there. And hey, I think the cool part about you doing all the rebuilds is if anyone knows the 2020 free agency class or the 2021 draft class, it's you. I mean, as many times as you've probably been through it and ran through the different scenarios that could happen. So I think that Knicks fans would ultimately be happy if you were their GM, but we'll see what happens there with their current setup. But do want to say we appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your story and your thoughts just about the current state of basketball. Want to open up the floor to you. Do you have anything coming up or going on that maybe listeners or people watching the show should be looking into or watching out for?
I would just say just still doing my stuff on YouTube, my career, my GM, my league. Basically, so what I've been doing. And thank you guys for having me on. That was super fun to do. Really appreciate you guys having me on, and thank you.
Absolutely. We appreciate you taking the time, Matthew.